This is Weekly Sports Talk with Ed, episode 38. So today, Happy Women's History Month. Had to do something special for Women's History Month. And I'm going to be talking about some of the most underrated women's athletes of all time throughout sports, WWE, WNBA, etc. But I'm going to start, then I'm talking about, I did X Factors last week for the Western Conference NBA teams. This week, I'm going to do X Factors for the Eastern Conference NBA teams as it gets closer down to the playoffs. And we're getting towards that. But I'm gonna start with the RG3 tweet. If y'all didn't see it, RG3 he made a tweet saying sports shows on TV should be about sports and not politics. Essentially, what it started from is there was this whole situation about Jackie Robinson and him being taken out of this thing with the. I'm gonna see if I can find the background of the thing that I'm talking because I seen it yesterday, and essentially it was this whole situation with Jackie Robinson and then Stephen A. Smith. He spoke on it or something like that. So I'm finna pull up the original tweet and read it. It was this. This used to be the URL for a story on the Depth of Defense website about Jackie Robinson's time in the Army. The story has been removed. The ghosts who did this should be ashamed. Jackie Robinson was the embodiment of an American hero. Fix this now. So that caused a lot of controversy, and then that had to be handled. And then Stephen A. Smith, he went on TV talking about it. He had like a 6-minute segment talking about the whole situation with the Jackie Robinson thing. And essentially what he was saying is that he called out Trump. He was like, I have respect for Donald Trump, but he needs to fix this. And people targeted Stephen A. Smith for saying that he respects Trump, this and that. At the end of the day, he respects who he wants to. That's not really my problem. But it was kind of weird. It's fixed now. The Jackie Robinson thing is back up on the website. But essentially, it's like them trying to erase the history of Jackie Robinson, or at least that's what's being assumed. And it's connected to sports naturally because it's Jackie Robinson who broke the color barrier in baseball. And then that's when RG3 he spoke on it. He was like, sports shows on TV should be about sports and not politics, which he kind of has a point. And then he backed it up with some of the things that he said. But a lot of people misinterpreted what he said and just made it a thing of who's right, who's wrong. And RG3's follow-up tweet was, the tweet is not about Jackie Robinson. His significance can never and should never be erased. Breaking the color barrier in baseball itself is not political. Jesse Owens winning 4 gold medals itself is not political. Jack Johnson becoming the first world black boxing heavyweight champion itself is not political. They all have political ramifications. They all challenge the status quo of racial barriers for fair play, race relations, and civil rights. That should be acknowledged and never forgotten. They shouldn't be used as an excuse to push political agendas on sports shows on national TV and an audience there to consume sports content. So that was the RG3 tweets and what he said. And what he said, there's a lot of right in what he said, and there's definitely ways I can see why this was misinterpreted. But he has a point of saying that that shouldn't be used to like push these narratives on TV. Like Stephen A. Smith, I don't think he was wrong for going on TV and speaking publicly about it, because it could have been the computer system messing something up, or it could have just been them simply removing that from the website, and then the outrage forced them to add it back. So I don't think Stephen A. Smith was necessarily wrong in what he said, but I don't think RG3 was really wrong either. Like a lot of the points he made good points. Like not everything should be political, but in the world we live in, that's just not how it is all the time. Like, he makes some good points, and he got attacked on Twitter for it because it's misinterpreted, and it's about they want to be right and claim the RG3 is wrong, but they're not understanding what he's really trying to say. It's like his stance is that sports shows on ESPN, FS1, those shows on those networks, it should strictly be about sports content because that's what it's for. But you do have politics being brought into it, but it's politics in life. Like, you can get into a college with a 2.7 GPA if the minimum requirement is a 3.4 if your parents went to the school, because you had a whole alumni thing. People talk about Bronny getting to the league because of his dad and call it nepotism. That's not the only thing. Look at the Warriors management. Look at some of the people in the WWE. It's politics everywhere. It's politics in jobs and schools. It's not just in sports. It's in life. So, but I get where RG3 is coming from. I don't think what he said was necessarily wrong. I just think that it was misinterpreted. Like, I don't think Stephen A. Smith was wrong either. I think because everybody's entitled to their own opinions, and Stephen A. Smith and RG3, they both backed up what they were saying. It's not like they directly got into it with each other. RG3 just followed up on what Stephen A. Smith said after the clip, and this is what the whole thing about the Jackie Robinson stuff being removed from the website is what this whole thing led to. And now people are attacking RG3. It's a tweet saying that they were glad that RG3 got an injury. Like, that's not something that you joke about. Like, him tearing his ACL, that's not something that should be made fun of. That should just be attacked because he made a tweet and you disagree with it. Like, you disagree, that's fine. But RG3 actually made some valid points in what he was saying. So I don't think he was necessarily wrong about it. But I just want to talk about that for a little bit to start the podcast. But now I'm moving to my X Factors for what's good, Alex? You said, I just find it funny that the same people that told Kaepernick to shut up and dribble are the same ones that will field clap whenever Dana White will bring out Trump. Yeah, that's a good point. Like, like I'm saying, a lot of this stuff is misinterpreted because, like, Colin Kaepernick, he wanted to stand for something, like, and then remember, then in the NBA bubble, when Jonathan Isaac was the only one to stand up and not take a knee, he got clowned for it. Like, everybody is entitled to what they want to do in their opinions. Like, I don't get the constant attacking of certain people. Like, Kaepernick got blackballed because he took a knee, but he was really pushing for something that should have been pushed for a while ago. Like, before the Black Lives Matter movement became what it really was in 2020 with the George Floyd stuff, Colin Kaepernick was pushing that. And then the Trayvon Martin thing, that was before it, but it picked up again in 2020. So then when Kaepernick did that, he was out the league for that. But then when Jonathan Isaac didn't take a knee, he was clowned for it. So I'm kind of confused. Yeah, people are always clap for Trump and Dana White. And I'm not trying to make this my podcast too political either, but I just wanted to speak on that because, I mean, it's the world that we live in. Like, Trump, he's the president. He's trying to get rid of, what's the education thing. What? I think you know what I'm talking about, but Trump is trying to get rid of stuff that essentially would take away the FAFSA for kids now, because I'm going to college in August, so I don't know what my FAFSA situation is looking like now. The Department of Education. Yeah, Trump is trying to get rid of that, so it's like, it's a lot of politics and everything, it's not just sports, it's in life too, but RG3 made a good point, and you made a good point with that comment too. But yeah, that is crazy. But I'm moving to X factors for each Eastern Conference team. I'm gonna start from the bottom and go up because a few of these teams at the bottom are already out the playoffs, or well, mathematically some of them are out already. Then just realistically, some of these teams really don't have a shot. But for the Wizards, I think their X factor, since they're already eliminated from postseason contention, it's just Alex Sarr developing and him growing. Like, his last 5 games, I've seen he's been good. I haven't watched him because I'm not watching the Wizards just one this season, but I've been seeing his stat lines the last few games and he was number 2 overall pick. So it's good to see he's finally getting some type of attention. It's mainly on Instagram and Twitter where he is getting the attention because the Wizards are so bad, but he's finally getting that respect and he's having some good games and showing what he can do. Like, we already knew he could be a good defender, but now he's getting into his offensive bag and he's scoring 20-plus point games consistently. So hopefully he keeps that up for the rest of the season, and then next season maybe the Wizards can be better. Maybe he can improve and make more of a name for himself. For the Hornets, at this point in the season, it's just about keeping LaMelo healthy. Like, obviously Brandon Miller, he's out right now. He's been out majority of the season with an injury. So just prioritizing his health. Like, you don't want to, I don't know how many minutes a game he averages, but he's probably playing around 30 minutes per game. If you want to cut that to 25 just to preserve himself for the rest of this season going into next, that'd be detrimental. That'd be crucial for them as a team because you want to keep LaMelo healthy, and we know he has a history of injuries. Just the Hornets team in general has a history of injuries. So you can preserve him, like play him a few less minutes per game, just to keep him healthy for the rest of the season, and he'll be geared up and ready for next season. I think that'd be great for Charlotte. Like, this team is talented enough to make a play-in push, but they're never healthy enough to do it. It's the same problem with the Pelicans. I talked about them last week. Like, they have such a talented team, and they can make a play-in push, but they're never healthy. So next, the Nets. I just think their defense continues to improve. I think they could be a team that sneaks into the play-in as a 10th seed in the East. Like, it won't be super hard because they won't have to climb too many teams. But I think they can sneak into the play-in if their defense continues to improve. And the Heat are on their longest losing streak since the late 2000s, like 2007-8 season. Like, it's been a while since the Heat didn't look this bad in the season. And then obviously you had Bam not doing, like, the Heat game last night against the Rockets. Bam had such a hot start. He started the game with 7 points in the first quarter. He just cooled down after that. I think he didn't even get up to 20 points. Then Tyler Hero, he just looked bad. And the Rockets, they're a great team. Like, I'm not surprised the Rockets won, but the Heat have lost 9 or 10 in a row at this point in the season. And the Heat never looked this bad late down the stretch of the season. Even when they had D Wade in that later part of his career, they were still a solid team. Like, they were where they at right now, but they were winning. They weren't like winning, but they weren't going on no crazy losing streak like this. Which I'm gonna get to the Heat in a second. But for the Nets, I think it's their defense continuing to improve with Noah Clowney, Nick Claxton, still got Cam Johnson. Like, this team can make a push for the play-in. They'll probably lose, but it'll be cool to see them make the play-in, especially in a weak Eastern Conference. For the 76ers, their X factor is Quentin Grimes. I was seeing him putting on a show, but it's just a lucky stretch. Like, I know a lot of people are talking about Nico Harris and who he fumbled, but it's just a one-time thing, or can this be consistent? Like the 76ers, I'm looking at them, and I'm thinking about the future. It's going to be hard to get off that Paul George contract, but you can get rid of Embiid and get a good package back for him. It's not because Embiid's bad, it's just because your ceiling is clear, that you're a second-round team at best because Embiid is never healthy. And while he's still great, you can get a lot of value back for him, and then you still have Tyrese Maxey, Jared McCain, and maybe Quentin Grimes. He continues to play like this. And if he does this next season, then I'd say that he's a great player. Like, I think he's a good player right now. He's always been a good role player. But I don't know if I want to call him that star player, because this is the first time we're seeing this out of Quentin Grimes when there's nobody else in the lineup. But when Maxey, McCain, Paul George, assuming they keep Embiid if they're all back, he continues to do this. Not like he's scoring 30 every night, but he's giving you 15 points, 7 assists, 5 rebounds, and playing some good defense. If he's having types of games like that when the whole lineup is healthy, then this team can be really scary. But I don't trust Embiid to stay healthy. And it's not a knock on Embiid. It's just that that's what his career is. He's been hurt a majority of his career. And it's unfortunate because Embiid is a great player. I seen him drop 70 points against the Spurs last season. I was watching that game. It was a Monday night. They were playing the Spurs. Wemby had a good game too. Like, Joel Embiid is super talented. But I don't know if it's just the 76ers thing. It's just him being unlucky because he gets a lot of bad injuries. I think him flopping played a lot into it. And he's calmed down on the flopping. Like, I don't think he's flopped as much, knowing how serious his injuries get. But him being a big man and just consistently getting injured, I say the 76ers should get rid of him because his value is high. And you'll get a good package back for him. And then you probably can't get off that Paul George contract. And nobody else on your team would it make sense for you to trade. But for the Raptors, it's really who's their second scoring option. Because obviously Scotty Barnes is first. I think RJ Barrett is hurt right now. I ain't seen him in the last Raptors game. But usually it would be RJ Barrett. And then next season you're gonna have Scotty, RJ, and Brandon Ingram. They're gonna have a solid team. It's gonna be one of the most fun play-in teams to watch. They'll be like the 8 or 9 seed next year with all 3 of those guys. But who's going to step into the role as the second scoring option if they can make a play-in push this year? Because they can still get wins. They can still keep games competitive. I don't know if they want to push for that this season because they could probably do some stuff in the offseason with the trio they have. It's not like some super elite trio, but they're 3 wings who play good defense and can put the ball in the bucket, and they'll all be able to adjust to each other. So I think if you find another scoring option on this team down the stretch of the season to see maybe we can get rid of him, like ship him off and get some more value back and improve this team to where we're not just a play-in team, but we can get up to the 6th seed, I think that'd be good for Toronto to end the season. For the Heat, their X factor is Tyler Hero. He's been their best player. It was between him or Bam because Bam hasn't been good. He he hasn't been great this season. Like, damn, I know he can do a lot more than what he is doing right now. And I'm surprised that he didn't really tap into that, especially with Jimmy not having the greatest season either, and him getting into it with Pat Riley multiple times. Like, it was clear as day Jimmy Butler was gone. Like, after the first 2 months of the season, even in the offseason, you could tell that this is probably the end of it for Jimmy Butler in Miami. But it's like, it was between Bam and Hero because Hero stepped up. This is the best season of his career, and he's been the Heat's best player this season. But will he be able to do this come playoff time? Because I think they'll probably make the play. Well, that's even just postseason time because they're on a huge losing streak right now. He's been embarrassed against the Rockets twice. Who that's both of those games are matchups, and I'm not just talking like the fight that was embarrassing that first game, but then that second game, Amir Thompson just locked him down. He just wasn't able to do anything on offense. He had 6 turnovers and 8 points. So it's like if you can't compete against a team like the Rockets, who are a good team in the Western Conference, and then you have other good teams in the East like the Celtics, Cavs, Knicks, and Pacers. I can't trust you against those teams, especially without Jimmy Butler. And then even in the play-in, when you got the Bulls, like let's say you're going to a matchup with the Bulls, if Kobe White gets hot, I'm trusting him. Then I'm trusting Tyler here. I'm trusting him more than Tyler Hero because I think Kobe White would be the best player in that series based off of what's happened this season. Like Bam should be the best player on this Heat team, but he isn't. It's been Tyler Hero. So it's like, can he keep that consistency up come postseason time, even if they do make the playoffs? Because I don't see this Heat team as a team that could upset somebody in the first round this year. Like, I don't think that's happening. Like, if they were to play the Bucks, I don't think they're beating the Bucks this year if that matchup was to happen. But they'll likely play the Cavs and Celtics first round, which I don't see them beating either one of those teams. So my X factor for the Heat is Tyler Hero, but if you went with Bam, I can understand why. For the Bulls, I think their thing is it was hard to pick an X factor for the Bulls because I haven't watched them much. So I'm just gonna go with their defense. And they had a high scoring game against the Kings, I think, and they won it. But if they could play some better defense and not give up as many points, this team could easily win in the play-in. Like, they got the Magic and the Hawks in there, and then I'm gonna speak on them two in a second. But I really just think the Bulls is defense. I haven't watched the Bulls much this season, so I can't say too much about Chicago. But Kobe White is great, and they still have Vucevic for whatever reason. For the Magic, it still comes down to point guard play. And I'm going to say this, Paolo Banchero is one of my favorite players in the league. But for him to say that Ty Jerome is only good because he's on the Cavs is a stupid statement. Like, Ty Jerome would start on the Magic. The Magic needed a starting point guard, and they didn't get that at that line. Like, I felt like Anthony Simons was so free, you could have got him at the deadline from Portland. But Portland might be trying to make a play-in push, as I alluded to last week. Like, anything, or even signing Isaiah Thomas, because you probably had the money to do that. Like, Isaiah Thomas, you could get on a cheap contract, so I don't see why you don't sign him, or just get a point guard in general who can help this team, especially with Suggs being out with an injury now. Like, they desperately need point guard play. Like, I think Paolo is improving as a playmaker, but they still don't have a real point guard, and that's going to hurt them come playoff time, especially with Suggs being out indefinitely, so he won't even be there for the postseason. So this team, I can see them losing in the play-in easily, because Paolo and Franz are nice, but what's after them? Who's the playmaker? Who's the primary playmaker? Because I don't think Paolo should be the primary playmaker. He should be the secondary playmaker. Like, Paolo or Franz should not be the first and second playmakers on the team. Like, Anthony Black, is he going to be able to step up? This is only his second season, so that's a lot of pressure for him to be under, to step into that role and be the point guard of the team. Like, I still think he needs some time before he's really ready for that role. Then for the Hawks, I think it was announced that Clint Capella is going to be out for the rest of the season, if not for a long period of time. But my X factor for them is Dyson Daniels. I think he should win Most Improved Player. But will he be able to consistently play like this in the play-in and a playoff series if they get there? I think he can, but I think that's their X factor, especially with Capella being out now. Now Dyson Daniels really got to lead the defense, and obviously Onyeka Okongwu, he's going to have to step up too. But I think it's going to be Dyson Daniels leading this defense like he has all season. Can he continue that for the rest of the season, going into the postseason, and then a potential playoff series against the Cavs or a Celtics team? Can he keep that up? Next, for the Pistons, I think Malik Beasley and Tim Hardaway are the X factors. They're having great seasons. They're shooting great this year. So in the playoff series against a team like the Knicks or a Bucks, can they keep up their great shooting and continue playing how they have and maybe upset somebody in the first round? For the Bucks, their X factor is Giannis going into the playoffs. And I don't usually like picking the best player as the X factor, but the last 2 years he's been injured in the playoffs. And for them to win, they need him to be healthy. Like the Bucks team, they've been underperforming come playoffs because Giannis hasn't been healthy. And it's not a knock on Giannis, like that's just unfortunate. But I think he's the X factor. Like the best ability is availability. And if he's not available, that Bucks team is gonna lose easily in the first round. So for the Pacers, Tyrese Halliburton. He has a back injury now, which I didn't even know about till the other day when watching the Pacers play. Like a back injury is scary in basketball. Like I remember Michael Porter Jr. had that in college, which is why he fell in the draft. Ben Simmons had it, which affected his play. And obviously, we've already seen Halliburton be affected by injuries with the hamstring and how he came back and he wasn't as good as he was supposed to be, or as good as he was playing before that. Looks like a back injury. That's really scary, and I don't know how long he's going to be out. But can't go into a playoff series without a Tyrese Halliburton. That's going to be, if you don't have Tyrese, that'll be detrimental to the team, especially come playoffs. Because you already know what it's like to face injured teams. They made the run last year to the Eastern Conference Finals because they had the luck of playing injured teams. And not to take anything away from them, you play who you play. But then they're going to have to experience that to see how it feels to not have your star player going into a series. So, and then for the Knicks just brushed himself with his ankle, praying for a speedy recovery. Like as long as he's healthy in the playoffs, the Knicks have a chance about almost anybody in the East. But Tom Thibodeau plays his guys a lot. That's my one problem with Tom. That's my problem with the Knicks in general. Their team is amazing, but I don't even think, but they're not a championship contender to me. And it's not because of the players. It's because Tom Thibodeau is a coach. He's a great coach, but he plays his guys a lot. He plays them way too many minutes. Mikal Bridges, the Iron Man of the NBA, is asking for a break. That's how much these guys are playing. Mikal Bridges has played every game in his career. He played 83 games last year after getting traded. And the fact that he is the one, out of all the years that Thibodeau's been coaching, he asked for a break. You know that's crazy. Then for the Celtics, their X factor has and always will be Kristaps Porzingis. A lot of these X factors, like a few of these X factors have been guys being healthy, but it has to be Porzingis because we seen them win in the playoffs last year, and he wasn't there for part of it. But can they do that again with a more stacked Eastern Conference, with a better Eastern Conference? Like you don't have Porzingis, you could lose some of these games. Like Porzingis, he's a crucial part of this team. He's a great player. It's not like they didn't need him in every game to win a championship last year, but I think they're going to need him in most of the games this year if they want to repeat as the champions. Like you're definitely going to need Kristaps Porzingis. Then for the Cavaliers, it's Darius Garland. His playoffs, he's not that good in the playoffs. So Darius Garland, he has to step up come playoff time. Darius Garland got to be he got to show me that he can be that playoff performer that he needs to be. Like we've seen Donovan Mitchell step up. Obviously, Jarrett Allen didn't have a great playoffs last year, but throughout the postseason and the Cavs, since they've been good over these last 2 years with Garland, Mobley, and Allen, like it really comes down to Darius Garland because I believe Donovan Mitchell is going to step up. I believe Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen's defense is still going to be there, but Darius Garland is a second scoring option. Will he be able to do what he needs to do to get them to win? Like obviously last night in the Cavs game, the Cavs on the 4-game losing streak right now. The last game, Donovan Mitchell didn't shoot great. He shot 2 of 18, and Garland outplayed him. But come playoffs, will Darius Garland be able to be on par with Donovan Mitchell? Will it? That on par is bad. That's not good either. That hurts both of them. But I'm expecting Donovan Mitchell to be good come playoff time. So will Darius Garland be able to be good this playoffs? Because I've yet to see that from Garland in the postseason where he showed me consistency and him being a good playoff performer. So those are my X factors for each NBA Eastern Conference team. Those are the things I think are important for these teams down the stretch of the season, heading into next year, heading into the playoffs. And I did X factors for the West last week. But now getting into the main topic of this episode, which is talking about the most underrated women's athletes. excuse me, of all time. So you think if it's somebody that you think of who's if it's an underrated female athlete you think of, just put it in the chat and then I'll pin a comment. But first, I'm gonna start with Allison Felix, a track star, a track and field icon, 11-time Olympic, 11 Olympic medals, 7 gold, 3 silver, 1 bronze, 20 world championships, 13 gold, 2 silver, 5 bronze. She was the USATF Athlete of the Year 5 times, and she was the first American woman to win 3 gold medals in the athletics at the Olympics since Florence Griffith Joyner at the 1998 Summer Olympics. It's like Allison Felix, I think she's one of the greatest track and field athletes ever, and she doesn't really get talked about. Some of this list is underrated slash underappreciated, but Allison Felix doesn't get talked about a lot. Like when you see people like a Sha'Carri Richardson or Julian Alfred now predominating in the track and field now and had a great race in the this past Olympics, you got to think about Allison Felix and what she did, not just for women, but black women, black people in general. Like being like the stuff that she accomplished as a track and field athlete was phenomenal. And it's not going to be like there'll definitely be like a Sha'Carri Richardson. She could pass her in the future, but if there wasn't an Allison Felix, there is no Sha'Carri Richardson or Julian Alfred who had a great showing in the Olympics this past year. Like in 2028, it's going to be a lot more. It's going to be some new names, new faces in the Olympics, and it's going to be some old faces and stuff. And when it comes to track and field, you got to think about what Allison Felix did multiple times. Won multiple gold medals, won silver, gold, and bronze all around the world. So it's just amazing what she's able to do. Next I have Venus Williams. Everybody knows her sister Serena Williams, and everybody knows that Serena Williams has a sister who is Venus. But Venus was the one that started playing tennis first, and that's not a lot of people don't talk about that. Like Venus had a really underrated career because her sister is Serena. Like you take like the stuff that she was able to accomplish: 7 Grand Slam singles titles, 14 Grand Slams doubles titles with her sister Serena, 4 Olympic gold medals, 1 single and 3 doubles, first African American woman to win singles title at Wimbledon since 1958. Entered the professional tour in 1994 at the age of 14, and was ranked the top woman tennis player in 2002. That's Venus Williams is super underrated just based off the fact that her sister Serena. Like we love to talk about Serena Williams, and she's probably one of the greatest female athletes of all time. Like Serena Williams, Simone Biles, two of the greatest female athletes of all time. But you really got to appreciate what Venus did for tennis too. Like her and her sister, they broke through together. Like she also dealt with racism the same way that Serena did, and she was able to deal with it, and she was able to put on great matches and have fun doing it, doing something that she loved. So I just shout out to Serena Williams, but I wanted to shout out Venus Williams too, because she did a lot for tennis as well. Like you needed both Serena and Venus to get where we are today, where women's sports is more advanced, where you see more black people in sports now because of women like Venus and Serena. Next I'm gonna go a bit younger with Jordan Childs. Talk about some gymnastics a little bit. Like obviously everybody loves Simone Biles. She is the greatest of all time. But the gymnasts around her are also great. And Simone Biles is still super young. She's 27, I think. But Jordan Childs I wanted to talk about because she's only 23 right now. And in Tokyo in 2020, she won silver in the team event. This past year in 2024, she won gold in the team event and bronze in the floor exercise. Won silver for the uneven bars. She won a world championship in 2022. Had the gold medal in the team event. Won silver in bar and floor exercise. And then in her time at UCLA, she scored 8 perfect tens. She was the 2023 College Gymnast News Sports Woman of the Year, 2023 WCGA West Region Gymnast of the Year, and 2023 NCAA Uneven Bars and Floor Exercise Champ. Like these gymnasts, like obviously it's a lot of people talk about the looks and how great they look, but they don't actually sit down and watch them perform these routines. Like those uneven bars are some of the hardest things I've seen people actually try to do. Like it was either her or Suni Lee that failed during one of those. Because I'm talking about Suni Lee next. But it was one of them I seen fall on the uneven bars and that hurt their score. So it's like, and Jordan Childs, even as young as she is, 23 years old, she's already had to deal with racism in her career. and she hasn't been doing it that long. But she's not just dominating in college; she's dominating at a professional level too. Being around Simone Biles, being around Suni Lee, going to the Olympics multiple years in just a short span. Like from being in two Olympics in the span of 4 years, like at the age of 23, that's impressive. Like her first Olympics, she was 19. So it's like it's so the floor exercise. Like he got to get a perfect. Getting the perfect 10 is one of the hardest things to do in gymnastics because a lot could go wrong if you don't land, if you don't nail that landing at the perfect angle at the perfect time. They could affect your score. Like it's super hard to get perfect 10s, and she was able to get 8 of those in her career in UCLA so far, and she's not done. Like she's still in college, and then once she graduates, she's gonna be, and once it hits 2028, she's gonna be in the Olympic stage again, more than likely. Like unless she has an injury or something, which I'm praying that don't happen. But she's really phenomenal at what she does, and she has her own book. I just ordered that, so I'm gonna start reading that either today or tomorrow. Learn a little bit more about Jordan Childs, but she's a phenomenal gymnast and definitely fun to watch. Like it's not just about the looks and all this, like those floor routines, the uneven bars. Like I said, the uneven bars is probably the hardest things in gymnastics to complete because I don't see people getting perfect scores on that often. Like that's super hard to do. Even the floor exercise, like that stuff is not easy. It really takes hard work and dedication to do what she's able to do. And to speak on another gymnast, Suni Lee, well, she's 22 years old right now, a year younger than Jordan Childs, also with Jordan Childs and Simone Biles with Team USA that's in the past Olympics. She was the first Asian American. She was the first Asian American to win the all-around gold medal in 2020 in the Tokyo Olympics. She won a team silver and bronze uneven. She won silver in the team event and bronze in the uneven bars that same year. In 2024, she got a bronze medal for the all-around and team gold. And then she's won medals in 2018 and 2019. So that's just some of her career accomplishments so far. Like starting in 2018, it's 2025 now. I've been doing this for 7 years. Already got on that Olympic stage at around the same time as Suni Lee. Like they made their debuts on the Olympics together, both being two of the younger people. Simone Biles taking them under her wing, and then them three being like the trio of the Team USA for the gymnastics, and them just being able to excel at such a young age. Like it's rare that you see that in the Olympics. You can be in at 14. So it's like kids that I've seen at 16, 17 in the skateboard team that did their thing in the Olympics, but it's super hard to do this stuff at such a young age because there's so much pressure on you. You put so much pressure on yourself because this is your first time doing it and you want to succeed. And then not only does Suni Lee that she's a phenomenal gymnastic, she's phenomenal at gymnastics, she gives back to her community. She's restored bee colonies in her community. She's donated isolation gowns and face shields to different hospitals. And not only is she like having fun with what she's doing, she's also getting involved with her community, giving back to them because she's able to do that now. So that's just great to see, not just from her as a person that's watching sports, but as a person, just a person in general. Like not just appreciating the sports and her but putting on shows and entertaining people, but the fact that she is giving back to the community, like you're not forced to do that. She isn't required to do that, but she made that her choice to give back to her community. So just shout out to Suni Lee. And then next, Kelsey Mitchell. I enjoy watching. I've been enjoying watching the WNBA. Caitlin Clark, she's nice. Ainsley, she's nice. Aja Wilson, great, probably the best player in the WNBA right now. But I wanted to shout out Kelsey Mitchell. She's the reason why I enjoy watching the Indiana Fever. Like I love watching Caitlin Clark play. But when I started watching the Fever last season, Kelsey Mitchell was the person that caught my eye because I was like, oh yeah, she tough, and I enjoy watching Kelsey Mitchell play. Like 7 seasons in the league so far with the Fever, already a 2-time All-Star that's made it the last 2 seasons. It took her a few seasons to get there, but she's finally been an All-Star the last 2 years. She was an All-Rookie, made the All-Rookie team. She's averaging 16.8 points per game, 2 rebounds per game, and 2.8 assists per game while shooting 42% from the field, 37, almost 38 from 3, and 84% from the free throw line. And it's just, she's super fun to watch. Like, she's a good player. She can get to the basket. She isn't like this super elite playmaker or anything, but she's able to score. Like you have Caitlin Clark, who's the elite playmaker for the Indiana Fever. So, like I said, I enjoyed. Like I said, was reacting to the Indiana Fever game, and I was like, Kelsey Mitchell caught my eye because I enjoy watching her play. She can get to the basket. She can shoot threes. She can really do it all. Like so like I said, I love watching Caitlin Clark, but Kelsey Mitchell was the one on the Fever that was like, oh yeah, this one I'm gonna keep watching the WNBA and the Indiana Fever because Kelsey Mitchell, she's nice at what she does. So shout out to her. You said Jessica Campbell became the first female coach in NHL history last year. Shout out to Jessica Campbell. I just started watching hockey last year. Yeah, I just started watching hockey last year, so I did not know that. But shout out to Jessica Campbell. Who did she Who did she coach? Because I just started watching the NHL last year. I've been getting into my hockey bag. The Florida Panthers won the Stanley Cup last year, and I made a video about that. I think either made a video or a short where I broke it down. But it's only my second season watching the NHL. You said Seattle. Okay. Yeah, that's dope. Shout out to Jessica Campbell. It's Women's History Month, so we're celebrating the women right now. So that's good. Okay, I haven't watched too many Seattle games this year. But I have been watching more hockey this year, so I'm gonna definitely I'll probably talk about some hockey stuff next week. But back to the list of some of the most underrated and underappreciated women. Not that she's necessarily underrated, but I think Lisa Leslie is a person that not a lot of people talk about. Like the WNBA, it gets like a lot of men like to hate on the WNBA, but a lot of regular day people couldn't beat these WNBA players. But Lisa Leslie, she's a Hall of Famer. She was a 3-time MVP, 8-time All-Star, 2-time WNBA champ, 2-time block champ, 3-time rebounds champ, 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, 4 All Defensive Teams, 12 All WNBA teams, 2-time Finals MVP, averaged 17.3 points per game, 9.1 rebounds per game, 2.4 assists per game, a steal, 2 blocks, shot 47% from the field, 31 from 3, and almost 70 from the free throw line, played from 1997 to 2009. It's not, like I said, this list is underrated / underappreciated. Like the fact that a lot of people they want to talk about the WNBA as if they actually watch the product, but you don't see people talking about the people that really started this, like a Candace Parker, like a Lisa Leslie, like a Sue Bird. Like those were really the pioneers of the WNBA. Like the new wave of the players we're getting now with Cameron Brink, Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, and then you got Juju and Paige coming into the league soon. That's great, and I'm glad that people are watching the WNBA and that it's picking up some steam. But the real veterans, the real OGs that really started this and made people interested in the WNBA don't get talked about. Like people are watching the WNBA because of Lisa Leslie and what she was able to do, being such a dominant force offensively and defensively. People are watching when it first started around the time when Sue Bird was playing, because women's basketball wasn't that popular, but Sue Bird was amazing at it. People were watching because of Candace Parker and what she was able to do. Like Candace Parker just retired not too long ago. She retired 2 years ago, I think. So the fact that these people aren't, and I don't have the stats and stuff for all of them, but those three, they're really the pioneers of the WNBA and what got people interested in the WNBA before you had and then after that, you had the wave of the A'ja Wilsons, who people weren't watching the WNBA really until Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese and that whole class was in the league. But it's like people were definitely watching the WNBA. It wasn't a large amount of people, but they were definitely watching them because of the people that I named and what they were able to do for the sport. So I had to show some love to a current WNBA player and an old WNBA player. And deservingly, she's in the Hall of Fame. Next, talk about a little wrestling. Sherry Martel, 3-time AEW. You don't know about Sherry Martel? She wrestled in the 80s and 90s. She had a feud with her most classic and memorable feud was with Medusa, also known as Lunder Blaze. So Sherry Martel, super underrated. People don't really talk about her and what she was able to do. Like obviously you get the Fabulous Moolahs, the Medusas, people like them that do get talked about. But But Sherry Martel don't really get talked about, and she did a lot for women's wrestling. Like she was one of the pioneers for sure. Like she was a 3-time AWA women's world champion, 1-time IWA women's champ, 1-time WWF women's champ, and she made 5 different Hall of Fames. 2006 WWE Hall of Fame, 2022 Memphis Wrestling Hall of Fame, the 2014 Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, Women's Superstar 2009 Women's Superstars Uncensored Hall of Fame, and Women's Wrestling Hall of Fame in 2024. 5-time Hall of Fame. She's made 5 different Hall of Fames because of what she did, not just for the AWA, but what she did in other promotions, what she did for women's wrestling. Like there is no Medusa without a Sherry Martel. You have the same way there isn't a Rock without a Stone Cold Steve Austin. Like you gotta have these good rivalries and feuds to really kick something off. Like if Rock doesn't have Stone Cold, who is his most famous feud gonna be against? If Sherry Martel and Medusa didn't have each other, who are their most famous feuds against? If AJ Styles doesn't have Shinsuke Nakamura, who are they feuding against? Larry Bird, and it's not just in wrestling. Like Larry Bird and Magic Johnson, they needed each other because that created one of the biggest NBA rivalries of all time. LeBron and Steph, Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. Like there's always a superior to you, somebody that's on that same level that you need to help elevate you to get you to that next point. So that's why I respect Sherry Martel, and I read Medusa's book, Alundra Blaze, if that's what you know about. And she talked about how great Sherry Martel was and just how professional she was and how she wasn't complaining often. She enjoyed doing it and she really enjoyed getting into wrestling. So that's my little spiel on that. Like you need somebody else to be great. You can't just be great alone. Like the Shield, they had each other, and Seth Rollins he turned on him and he joined the Authority to become what he was now. I could be wrong, but I saw somewhere that Stephanie Vancouver sold out WWE World before Chelsea Green, Selena Vega, Jada Parker, Jade, Tori, and Trish. Well, you know what's that could be true though, Alex, because Stephanie Vancouver, she was killing in New Japan. Like those New Japan stars, like they really New Japan or just Japan in general, like they go all out for their stars. Like when AJ Styles was over there and he was feuding with Shinsuke, like they went super crazy for that. And like the fans, like I think the thing is it's more than just like WWE, they shows be sold out, but it's not just WWE fans. Like a lot of fans do be wrestling fans and they enjoy seeing these people in other places. And like Stephanie, she had a big name already and she could have went to SmackDown or Raw, but she chose NXT. But I'm not really surprised by that because I think aside from Tori Wilson and Trish, because they got the longevity in WWE, I think she's bigger than all of them. Like, and it's not nothing against them. I just think that she's a bigger star and she's the best wrestler out of those. Like when you compare her, when you look at her versus Chelsea or Selena, Jada or Jade, like I don't think any of them are bad wrestlers, but I think Stephanie, she's just a better wrestler than all of them, and people know her like worldwide. So I think her coming to WWE was big. Now her selling out Trish and Tori Wilson, that I'm kind of surprised by, but the other people are not really surprised by because it's Stephanie. Because Stephanie is known by a lot of people, so that one doesn't surprise me. But that's good. That's good for her, and the fact that she's a double champion right now feels kind of. I still don't know how I feel about her having both championships, but I'm glad that she beat Julia because she should have won that match. So I'm glad that happened. But yeah, shout out to Stephanie Vaquer. Then I got 2 more women on this list for most underrated, underappreciated women's athletes of all time. You got to talk about Alicia Fox. The fact that Alicia Fox started her career as a wedding planner. She was the first time she was on TV, she was a wedding planner. And she was one of the best promos in the Divas division. She was a good wrestler too. She only won the Divas championship in her career, which is crazy to me. She won it in 2010, held it for 56 days, and that was the only championship she won. That was her only championship reign. So, and Alicia Fox was a lot better than just one Divas championship. Like they could have did more with her. And then she was part of the Team Bellas when they did that stuff. That was cool. Like She was really good on the mic. She was good in ring. Like Alicia Fox was one of the most underrated women from the Divas era. Like I really enjoyed Alicia Fox. And then after retirement, she came back for like a one-off to win the 24/7 championship to add something to her accomplishments. And she's also the first and only African American woman to win the Divas championship. So I'm happy that she has that accomplishment because nobody else can say they did that. But it does suck that she only won the Divas championship once. Like you could have made her a multiple time champion. Like she could have, you definitely could have made her like a 3-time Divas champion in that era because she was definitely one of the ones. She was great for that era. She was great for the time period. And the fact that she started her career as a wedding planner went from that to being the first and only African American woman to be the Divas champion in WWE. Not a lot of people can say that. Like a lot of wrestlers, they do start in really weird spots. Like MJF was the security guard for WWE, getting pushed around against Samoa Joe. And then he lost his AEW World title to Samoa Joe. But you got, like a lot of wrestlers, they start their careers off in ways that it's not traditional, but they did it to get to where they are now, and it was worth it at the end. When those divas got a lot of hate during that time, I never heard a bad thing about Alicia Fox. That's true. Like Alicia Fox, she was probably one of the most professional wrestlers backstage. Like you never heard anything bad about Alicia Fox. She always could, like she was consistently cutting good promos. She was consistently putting on good matches, and she was able to work with everybody. Like you never heard anything about her having no backstage heat or anything like that. Like she did what she was supposed to do, and she worked up to get to where she was at. She easily could have complained, and she was probably mad that she had to start a career as a wedding planner. But she was like, I'm gonna take this role, I'm gonna excel at it, and become what I can be, which is a wrestler at the end of the day. And then when she came back after retirement, they had her be a manager for Cedric Alexander in 205 Live. Like she was always professional and down to earth and willing to do whatever she could to help WWE. So that's why I had to mention Alicia Fox. Then the last woman I'm gonna talk about, this person isn't necessarily underrated, but it's Ronda Rousey and I wanted to add Ronda Rousey to this list because obviously in her time in WWE she got a lot of hate and stuff like that. And people talk about her MMA stuff, but a lot of people don't talk about the judo stuff that she did. In 2004, she was judo junior world champ, 2007 world judo champ, won a silver medal and an Olympics bronze medal in 2008. Won a silver medal in 2007, won an Olympic bronze medal in 2008 in the women's middleweight judo. And that's what she did when she was doing the judo stuff, which a lot of people don't talk about. A lot of people talk about the MMA stuff. They don't talk about what she did before that. Then when she went to the MMA, she was the first UFC women's bantamweight champion. She was the Strikeforce women's bantamweight champ, and she made the Hall of Fame in the UFC Hall of Fame in 2018. Also had the most UFC title defenses by a woman, which was 6, and she had 8 wins in under a minute. Nobody else can say they did except the Ronda Rousey did. Like Ronda Rousey, her transition from judo to MMA to WWE, like it was really good, and nobody else can say that they did that. There's no woman that'd be as legendary as what Ronda Rousey was and what she was able to do, transitioning from multiple different sports and excelling at 2 of them. Like I won't say she excelled in WWE, but she wasn't bad. And I think she was not terrible in WWE. She won the Royal Rumble. She won the tag titles once. She was a 3-time women's champ, 2 times. 2 of those was the SmackDown Women's Champion. 1 time was the Raw Women's Champion. Like her run towards the end of it wasn't that great, but her first match with Stephanie and Kurt Angle and Triple H in that tag team match, it was a good match. Like Ronda Rousey, she was able to make the transition, and she wasn't a phenomenal wrestler by any means, but she tried her best. And she had some solid matches, and she put on some solid stories in her time in WWE. So I think it should be talked about and acknowledged how she made the transition from 3 different sports like judo, MMA, and WWE. It's all fighting, but there's 3 different styles of fighting. You said which women's MMA fighters did you think could have been great pro wrestlers? I'm gonna be honest, I don't watch MMA that much. I watched it more when I don't watch it much now. But the woman that knocked out Ronda Rousey was not. Is that Holly Holm or is that somebody else? Cause hold on, I think that was the. Nah, that one. I don't know about great because I think okay, that was her. I don't know about great because even Ronda Rousey, I think it's hard to make that transition from MMA to WWE in general because you seen it with Brock. Like he wasn't a Brock was a good pro wrestler. I think it's definitely a few that could have been good pro wrestlers because it's at the end of the day, it's different styles of fighting. So that's why I think it's hard to make some of those transitions. It's so I think Ronda Rousey was good, but I think Holly could have been good too. I don't think she would have been great. She wouldn't have been no phenomenon in the ring, but she could have been good. I think she would have been good in WWE. But I haven't watched women's MMA in a minute. I definitely got to get back into MMA soon to start talking about that some more. But I think Holly would have been good for WWE or just pro wrestling in general. But yeah, those are the 9 women I talked about. Allison Felix, like I said, phenomenal track star, really set the standard for what you see in Sha'Carri Richardson and Julian Alfred today. Venus Williams, Serena and Venus both needed each other to be what they are today. Like you don't get those two of the greatest tennis players of all time, not just for women, but tennis players in general. Jordan Childs, Suni Lee, what they're able to do in the gymnastics, like you don't see that often. Like the fact they come in so young and they're just able to excel. Like, there's definitely people that come into different leagues and different sports young and aren't able to excel at all. That's even in jobs too. Kelsey Mitchell, Lisa Leslie had to show some love to the WNBA. The WNBA is fun. The season is starting real soon. Starts in May, if I'm not mistaken. So that's gonna be fun. Alicia, Sherry Martel, Alicia Fox had to speak on them. Two of the most underrated women in wrestling history. Like, they surprised them to get talked about more. Then Ronda Rousey, not necessarily underrated, but I think she's underappreciated for the transition she made from judo to MMA to WWE. Because those are all three completely different styles of fighting, and she excelled at all of them. But she not excelled in WWE, but she was good there. But to wrap up the podcast, I'm gonna do my athletes of the week. For WWE, I once again going with the Street Profits. That match, the promo they cut was really good. It had the crowd rocking in Italy last night, and then their match with Los Garza was fun. The Street Profits ended up winning. And then for back, this had this is rare. It happens sometimes, but for back-to-back weeks, my athletes of the week for WWE is the Street Profits. I think this run is gonna be good with them as the tag champs. I don't see them losing these titles anytime soon. If they do, I'd be very shocked and upset. But shout out to the Street Profits. For AEW, I went with Megan Bayne. Her beating Chris Statlander in the main event. It was a good match. It sucks that Chris Statlander had to take another loss, but it was a good match. Then the brawl with her and Tony Storm after it was good. But if Megan Bayne, but before they get to that match with Megan Bayne and Tony Storm, Megan Bayne has to cut a promo. She hasn't done any talking. Like I think it's kind of too soon to do that match. If you did it like 2 months down the line, I might feel different about it. But Megan Bayne has to cut a promo and it has to deliver. Because if it doesn't, then she's losing that match against Tony Storm. For for TNA, I went with Zara Brookside and Li Ying Lee. They beat Rosemary and Savannah Evans in a tag team match on Impact. That was a really fun match. So shout out to both of them. For New Japan, I went with David Finlay. He won New Japan Cup and beat Shota Umino in the finals. So he has a guaranteed world championship match sometime in April. It might be April 4th, if I'm not mistaken. Something that against Hikaru Gatu. For the PBA, I went with EJ Tackett. The PBA is the Pro Bowling Association. If y'all didn't know, he was in 5 PB finals this week. He only won 1 of them, but that's actually impressive because it takes a lot. Like they're bowling so much consistently in 1 year that the fact, and there was 5 TV tournaments this week. The fact that TV finals, the fact that he was on all 5 of them It's really impressive because only 5 guys make the cut. Only the 5 high scoring guys throughout the qualifiers get to make it. And he was the highest top 5 in qualifying in 5 different tournaments. And he eventually was able to get one. So shout out to him. He ended up for the NBA, I went with Kevin Durant. The Suns played 40 games this week. Kevin Durant led them to a 3-1 record. In the loss against the Lakers, he had 21 points, 9 rebounds, and 2 assists. But he had 14, 3-3 against the Raptors. Had 26, 4-8 versus the Bulls, and he just had 42, 6-8 versus the Cavs last night. And those 3 games were wins. They won their last 3 games. The Suns are getting hot at the right time, and they're winning games. Kevin Durant's looking great. Bookie's looking great. Bradley Beal isn't playing, so that's great for the Suns. So shout out to Kevin Durant. For the NHL, I went with Cale Makar from the Avalanche. Led them to a 2-1 record this week. He had a total of 2 goals, a total of 4 assists, and was a +2 this week, leading them to wins. They won 2 games, and these wins are super important for the Avalanche. And I watched both of the games that they won. Surprisingly, I didn't watch the game that they lost this week, but I did see the Avalanche play multiple times this week. Then no win March Madness. So for men's college basketball, I went with Chaz Lanier. He had 29 points on 11 of 22 from the field, shot 6 of 13 from 3, and Tennessee's win over Warford the other night. Then for women's college basketball, I went with Jordan Hobbs. He had a 28.6 rebound game last night to lead Michigan to a win over Iowa State. These are just the games going off the tournaments and how they started. So shout out to both of them. Then I'm gonna be dropping March Madness shorts all March. So make sure y'all tune in for that. And then for golf, I went with Joaquin Niemann. He was a -17 to win the Singapore tournament this Sunday. So shout out to him. He had a 5-point lead over everybody. I forgot who finished second, but whoever was in second, they had a -9. Random question, but do you think Trevor Bauer should have been allowed back into the MLB? I mean, to be completely honest, I don't see why he can't be allowed back into the MLB, because if you think about it, in the NFL, you had Deshaun Watson still in the league. Like, I don't see why he couldn't get back in the MLB. I really don't see why. So if anybody's watching doesn't know why, and that's fine, because I was going to wrap up soon, but I can talk about that real quick. Trevor Bauer, former MLB pitcher for the Dodgers, faced allegations of sexual assault and was suspended by the MLB, leading to his release. And since then, he's been playing in Japan and Mexico. So my thing is, and obviously it's 2 different leagues, and sexual assault, we don't tolerate that. That's not good by any means. But if you still have guys like Miles Bridges who can play in the in the NBA, for literally beating his girlfriend, and there's video footage of it, and Deshaun Watson, who was accused by about 20 massage therapists, and he's still in the league, I don't see why Trevor Bauer shouldn't be able to get back into the MLB. Like, obviously, people are going to look at him weird for it, because it's just you should be looked at weird for doing something like that. But if we're going to keep it fair, then make it fair across all sports. If you sexually assault somebody, you shouldn't be, and if it leads to you getting released and not being able to be in the league, why isn't that the same standard for everybody? You said you think the reason that he wasn't back was because he was so much of a cancer in the locker room and no team wanted to deal with that, and allegations or not. Well, that could be true, but I don't know. I think that's a good point. That could be why he's not back in the league. Like, he was a good player, so he'll be fine in Japan and Mexico. What's good, Couch? But that's a good point, Alex. That could be why he's not back in the league, but he can just keep doing his thing in Japan and Mexico. I think if a team wants to take a chance on him, he's a good player. Obviously, he's not a good person, but he's a good player. So if a team wants to take a chance on him, I wouldn't be mad at it. Like, I wouldn't be upset about him getting back into the into the MLB, I wouldn't have a problem with it. But that could be a valid reason to why teams don't want to take that risk because he's a cancer in the locker room. But I'm sure there's other players in the MLB that are cancers in the locker room. It's just because of what he did, which is why he's not in the MLB right now. But that's, if y'all hadn't seen the interview already, watch the interview I did with Jake Gray this past week. Also did a video this morning about, I dropped a video this morning about Cade Cunningham and why he shouldn't be the most improved player in the NBA this season. But that's going to wrap it up for this episode of Weekly Sports Talk with Ed. Make sure y'all leave a like, subscribe, and if you catch the replay of this, comment on the video. But peace out.